name's Gaia Grant. When we moved here almost 20 years ago, this was a beautiful, pristine paradise. Crystal clear waters, there was a beautiful white sandy beach, a few coconut trees behind us, some cows, some fields, and we moved into a grass thatched hut just 50 metres behind where I'm standing now. We'd look out at the ocean, enjoy the beautiful environment that was Bali 20 years ago. And we really enjoyed also the beautiful local community, which was a community that loved the arts and crafts, that spent a lot of time working together. But over the time, tourists came, and tourism really impacted this area. As you can see, there are now, what started with a couple of beautiful seafood cafes on the beach has now turned into more than 100 seafood cafes in a row, where thousands upon thousands of people come every night. And along with the seafood cafes, there's been an obvious impact. So there's been pollution that's come along, there's been a destruction of the local community in many ways, who are now focusing on making money from the tourists. There's also been a destruction of the environment. So the trees have been cut down, there's been car parks built, the tourist buses are rolling in, and there's all sorts of levels of destruction. Now you could look at an area like this and say, well, what destroyed this area? What destroyed this community? But I think the real issue is that there is no one factor that can be blamed. There's nothing that we can specific that we can tie it down to. But there are a number of different factors that all contribute to the destruction of this area. There was just 4 barbecue seafood cafes. It was fine, it was quaint, but when there's hundreds of them lined up like this, So as you can see, the smoke is quite overwhelming at times. It certainly gets into your lungs, it gets into your eyes, it gets into your clothes. It's suffocating. Back there in the distance you can see our original thatched hut that we first lived in almost 20 years ago now. Originally surrounded by coconut trees, fields and cows, now surrounded by car parks, building sites. And I guess that's what we're talking about with creativity, creative thinking. There's always a number of different factors that can impact that creative innocence, and that can destroy that ability to think creatively. And that's really at the heart of what we're talking about.
When we talk about who killed creativity, it's not that anyone deliberately comes to work on a particular day and says, I'm going to kill creativity. It's not that any particular character, a controlling person, a person afraid, a person who's narrow-minded, deliberately wants to kill creativity. None of the locals here wanted to deliberately destroy the beach, but it was the combination of a lot of small things put together over time and unmonitored and unchecked that eventually destroyed the beach and destroyed the environment. Creativity gets destroyed by a group of different things that come together that create a physical environment or a mental environment that eventually destroys or kills creativity.
Assisting Indonesian investigators.
Unfortunately, after the environmental destruction, the destruction of the community in so many ways, there was one final act of destruction, and that was when a number of terrorist bombers came on site here and blew themselves up, and with them they took a number of tourists, a number of local people, and really impacted that creative innocence. And the interesting thing is that act made the local people reflect on what were they doing and why were they doing it, and what was behind that act, how did it impact them. And I think that's an important thing that we need to think about. If creative thinking has been destroyed, how has it happened? Why has it happened? What do we need to reflect on? What values do we need to draw on so that we can move forward successfully into the future? Of course, the beach community lives on. There are still beautiful people with a lot of creative thinking and ideas who live here. It's just been sad to see that so much of that has been taken away by the focus on perhaps greed, perhaps it's just progress, perhaps it's just moving into the future. But whatever has caused it or led to it, the number of factors that may have led to it, it's been a sad demise, I must say. It's been a big big dramatic impact on a beautiful area. So just as we need to think about protecting our environment, I think we also need to think about protecting creative innocence, because you can see that such small issues can come together, combine and have a major impact, and that will definitely influence and impact our future.